And then after Maury, they just play another episode of Maury.
No, I know, Cecil. I've been working from home for like a decade.
How many episodes of Maury are there?
Oh, there's so many.
Oh, shit, they're here.
Oh, disgusting.
Oh, that's so gross, guys.
No, wait, let us explain.
You know what, Eli? I don't want to hear it. You guys do these before show shenanigans, and they're supposed to be thematic, but this is also how people get introduced to our show, man.
Right, and this isn't even thematic. It looks like you guys just had diarrhea in the middle of the studio.
It's puerile, man. Fucking.
Well, I'll be going then.
What the?
Dude, what the fuck was that?
That was Rudolph Giuliani, but now he's clearly mad and he's left.
Oh.
Yeah, we booked him as a surprise.
Can I say he actually looks way better in person?
I was going to say that way better.
Hello and welcome. Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet. And that's how it works now. I'm Eli Bosnick, and I'll be cracking into this can of Haukart, but I'll need some fellow smellers. First up, two nerds who knew I was talking about Icelandic fermented shark from Finland and have notes on my pronunciation, Cecil and Noah.
So many European countries have food that's essentially frat hazing. It's gross, man. It's fucking gross.
I appreciate the vote of confidence, Eli, but I have yet to know what you're talking about.
How is it Icelandic and from Finland also? I don't know what it is either.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen, Heath.
You're welcome.
Man. Just
Okay.
let it happen.
And also joining us tonight, the long and short of Citation Needed, Heath and Tom.
Yeah. Joke's on you, Eli. I don't mind being short. Not at all.
What the fuck was the shark thing? Explain it. Can you explain it now? It's called Haukarpel, and it's rotten shark fin, and it's a Finlandian delicacy.
From Iceland.
Got it. Now you know. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to take a second to thank our patrons. Hey, patrons, you supported this show for years in spite of Heath's refusal to acknowledge your existence when he's the host.
Oh, no, I just, do the show and then tell you about it at the end of the show.
But
That's what I've done.
now our show has ads. And not just any ads, auto ads. The pancreatic cancer of podcasts. But our patrons don't have to hear those ads, and thus will never know the capitalistic hellscape our fun little podcast has become. And if you'd like to learn how to join their ranks, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Heath, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about Rudolph Giuliani.
All right, fingers crossed for the early release here, Heath. Who was Rudy Giuliani?
Great question. Rudolph William Louis Giuliani is a New York City gentleman of crime who often developed elaborate schemes whilst presenting himself as innocent. Believing himself to be an eccentric criminal mastermind, he's well known for his love of ornithology and his use of technology-fitted umbrellas. So that's all according to Batman.fandom.com, where they describe the penguin, so I thought that'd be useful. So aside from being a prominent rival of Batman in real reality,
Amazing.
Rudolph Giuliani was a federal prosecutor, mayor of New York City, the so-called mayor of America, a lobbyist for pure evil, and a really sad internet salesman of stupid bullshit. And of course, he was a personal attorney for Donald Trump, during which Giuliani was arguably the single worst attorney in the history of the universe, which is an extremely competitive title. And now he's an indicted felon, which makes it extra fun. So we're doing it right now.
I just want to say there's no more fitting place for Giuliani to be jailed than a penguin house at a small roadside zoo.
Ooh. The Four Seasons Total Zoo.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the good stuff about Giuliani, and we're done. his early career as a prosecutor, okay, it did actually have a couple of useful moments, but it's all in the context of being part of Ronald Reagan's Justice Department. So go fuck yourself. And even the lead up to that was super shitty. After getting a law degree from Eli Bosnick's NYU, that's where he went to school for that. Great. Giuliani went into politics right away as a Democrat, working for Bobby Kennedy's presidential campaign in 1968.
Oh, he was crushing it from the start. Yeah.
Well, no indication whether Giuliani helped with that very large murder conspiracy. Either way, he left the Democrats and became an independent on his way to Republican in 1975, which is, of course, a totally reasonable time to do that. And he worked for the Gerald Ford administration right after Richard Nixon, the Republican, was president. Then he went into private practice while Jimmy Carter was president because, gross. And then back to government when Reagan took over. According to Giuliani's mom, quote, Rudy only became a Republican after he began to get all these jobs from them. He's definitely not a conservative Republican. He thinks he is, but he isn't. He still feels very sorry for the poor.
What? Oh, Jesus Christ, lady. You don't refer to people in poverty as the poors. They go by West Virginians.
Exactly. Oh, spoilers, by the way, his mayoral policies towards the unhoused would strongly dispute mom's assessment there.
Right?
No, I get it. My mom still thinks I'm big boned. So I've been there.
Husky. Me too, yeah. So, according to my source from the DOJ at the time, Giuliani was clearly just looking for high-profile cases to get him attention. That started in 1982, when Giuliani defended the Reagan administration in a well-publicized case regarding the internment of approximately 2,000 asylum seekers from Haiti. According to Giuliani, they were economic migrants, not political asylum seekers. And he argued that, quote, political repression, at least in general, does not exist under President Jean-Claude Duvalier. That being said, yes, the fuck it did. Duvalier was in charge of killing about 30,000 political dissidents.
Okay, but also just to be very clear, Heath, Giuliani's very nuanced argument here is that if he's right, 2,000 human beings will still die, but they'll die from apolitical causes. So
Right, yeah.
that's all right.
So it's fine. It's fine. It's economic migration deaths. It's fine. In 1983, Giuliani moved from the office of the Attorney General and became the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. And he gained national prominence for the convictions of Wall Street criminals on insider trading and other securities violations, Wall Street crime. That includes Ivan Boesky, the inspiration for Gordon Gekko, and also Michael Milken, the horrible junk bonds guy. Side note, both of those people were out of jail way too fucking quickly. Boesky remains a millionaire to this day, and Milken is now a billionaire. Today, they're both out of jail. Other side note, Michael Milken got a full pardon from Donald Trump in 2020. No fucking idea why that happened. So during this period in the mid-'80s, Giuliani got even more attention for himself by making the perp walk into a common practice. He'd arrest someone and also alert the media ahead of time so he could have a big publicized moment of walking the criminal into jail in handcuffs. And it was later shown that Giuliani did this with several people who were definitely not guilty.
Yeah, innocent until proven photographed.
Right, yeah.
Right.
During this phase of his career, it was famously said, according to James Comey, that, quote, the most dangerous place in New York is between Rudy Giuliani and a microphone, end quote. So, give you an idea.
So Giuliani's biggest case, as a prosecutor rather than a defendant, he's got a pretty big fucking defendant one coming up. It was the Mafia Commission trial that ran from 1985 to 1986. Giuliani indicted 11 high-level figures in the New York Mafia, including the leaders of the 5 families. And he got convictions under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, or RICO Act. And super duper fun fact about that, that's the same law that got Giuliani himself indicted earlier this month for being part of the Big Lie Mafia after the 2020 election. And if we get a perp walk because of this, it will be the greatest fucking perp walk of all time.
Their New York DA is like, you know what, Rudy, you're right. This actually does feel fantastic.
Right? All right. So before we get into Giuliani's career as a politician, let's take a quick look at his personal life, just in case there's anything that might be worth mentioning. He married his cousin. He married his cousin. That's real. According to Rudy, they're second cousins once removed or third cousins, depending on when he was lying. They're actually second cousins, not removed at all. And the word second for cousin doesn't mean like a big step away from the family line. That's the daughter of his father's first cousin who he married for 14 years. When they eventually got divorced after all that time, they also got the marriage annulled by the Roman Catholic Church, allegedly because Rudy had just recently discovered that they were cousins. Also lying. They literally knew each other since childhood, for surezies.
Hey, man, I had no idea she was my cousin. I just thought she was hot and she came to all my family reunions. What?
He said to the Pope.
Yeah. See, now, based on the physical appearance, I would have believed Rudy was the result of cousins fucking, but doing the fucking himself, I did not suspect.
Right.
An incest angle in a Heath essay? Interesting.
What? Tom, incest is not the preferred. They prefer the term West Virginians. We've been over this.
It's step siblings. That it doesn't matter. That brings us to 1989, when Giuliani ran for New York City mayor and lost to Democrat David Dinkins. During the next 4 years, Giuliani worked in private practice, and Dinkins did a whole bunch of good stuff that Giuliani would go ahead and steal credit for. Rudy won a rematch election in 1993, running on the platform of being really tough on crime, by which I mean really tough on poor people, like really, really horrible. When he took office, he adopted an aggressive policing approach based on the broken windows theory. The idea is to crack down on minor crimes, sending a message of law and order that discourages other crime and improves the neighborhood. There's a whole bunch of debate about that theory, especially when it's implemented with practices like stop and frisk, which the NYPD was definitely doing in a definitely super duper racist way. But crime went down overall in the city, and Giuliani was very happy to take the credit. That being said, there was already a downtrend in crime starting with Dinkins and a similar trend throughout the entire country. The economy was improving. Also worth mentioning, the book Freakonomics pointed out that Roe v. Wade had been around for exactly 20 years when Giuliani got elected. And when you kill a baby, or whatever, abort an unwanted fetus, potato, potato, that's good for lowering crime approximately 20 years later when, the unwanted fetus would be an adult.
So when the next crime surge happens in 20 years, we can all blame, Thomas Smith and his litter of kids.
Jesus Christ.
Way to deflect the blame, father of four.
Hey, only two of them are mine.
Yeah. Also, Thomas's kids are wanted. That's a big difference.
Yeah, only two of them are yours, but you're going to fuck the other two up, Tom. Come on.
I thought you were just going to say you're going to fuck the other two.
So
and
I was like, wait a minute. I don't like
good for you, Cecil. Yeah, man. I remember when I first became a podcaster.
We're all unemployed.
All right. Let's never forget that. Speaking of which, that brings us to the absolute pinnacle of Rudy Giuliani's career, 9/11, which is not a good sign for the pinnacle of a career. In the aftermath of the attacks, Giuliani was fucking there in New York and became a national hero for being there in New York. But that's so stupid. Any idiot can unite an American city behind hating Islam. It's so fucking easy. You don't even need the attacks on 9/11 to do that. You could just do that. Also, the one tangible thing he did with respect to 9/11 was something that made it worse. In 1997, he decided to put the headquarters for the Office of Emergency Management inside the World Trade Center. A whole bunch of people in the city government were like, hey man, that's fucking stupid because that's a terrorist target. And he was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, it literally got bombed 4 years ago. It's a terrorist with a van full of explosives just so recently. And he was like, I married my second cousin. And then he had several giant tanks of diesel fuel put in the building to power the command center in the World Trade Center.
That's like Ralph Nader hailing an Uber and getting a Ford Pinto. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So following that just horribly bad call, The NYPD officially lodged a complaint about having the Emergency Management HQ at a known terrorist target. And, of course, Giuliani ignored that. Eventually, that all came out, and journalist Chris Wallace confronted Giuliani about the whole thing during an interview. Giuliani, of course, tried to lie about it and claimed the decision was made by the director of emergency management, Jerry Hauer. And that's when Wallace pulled out a copy of an official letter from Hauer to Giuliani explaining how the World Trade Center was an incredibly stupid choice. And he was like, I married my cousin, and then end of interview.
All right. Yeah, to be fair, nobody gave a shit, right? It was good training for Wallace to do this presidential debates, if you think about it.
But kudos to Wallace for checking under the bus beforehand to see who Rudy had thrown under there, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's good interviewing right there. So again, the aftermath of 9/11, that's the pinnacle of the entire life of Rudy Giuliani. For sure, he's not dead, but I'm sure that's the pinnacle. During a memorial for 9/11 at Yankee Stadium a couple weeks after the attack, he was named America's Mayor by Oprah Winfrey. I actually didn't know that until this week, that she was the one who did that. Really bad title for Rudy Giuliani. Then in October, Queen Elizabeth makes him an honorary Knight Commander of the British Empire. Rudy Giuliani is that. Just I'm picturing him in a knight suit. It's super dumb. And then in December, Time Magazine makes Rudy Giuliani Person of the Year for 2001. So naturally, all those accolades. From there, America's Mayor started a consulting firm, and he defended the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma in 2002, his very first client, against the fascist government overreach that was happening to the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma. Thanks to Giuliani, Purdue's basic freedoms were not interfered with. They were able to keep doing what they wanted to do until now.
Giuliani was particularly well equipped for his 9/11 moment, though. There were a lot of broken windows.
I didn't know that bit about the Sacklers either. The motherfucker was the Forrest Gump of evil, apparently.
He's everywhere doing the evil. He's just right there, slightly out of frame. No, he's in frame. Fuck that guy. So he saves the Sackler family from prosecution in 2002. He has a couple failed campaigns for office, and then he fires up his political advisor career by fucking up one more thing about 9/11 right at the beginning of that. In 2016, Giuliani backed Donald Trump's campaign for president, and during a speech, Rudy said, in the 8 years before Obama became president, we didn't have any successful Islamic terrorist attack in the United States. That's an exact quote. Yeah. And that's when a really good fact checker did a bunch of digging, like deep, and was able to come up with a counterexample. I think it was from 2001. And also like a really big list of other counterexamples. In response to the fact checking, Giuliani said, I was using abbreviated language. Again, exact quote. He abbreviated 9/11 out of existence.
I was using dog years. I was using dog years, not regular years.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move ahead to 2018. That's when Trump was being investigated for colluding with Russia to hack the 2016 election. So Giuliani tweeted some ridiculous complaint about Robert Mueller because the Mueller report was getting compiled at that point. But Giuliani's a fucking imbecile, so he didn't have any spaces at the end of his sentences in that tweet. He did have periods, though. And if you start a new sentence after a period with the word in, that means you also just created a link to the ending word of your last sentence, plus the internet country code for India. So he accidentally had g20.in as a link in the tweet. Well, some guy, some amazing person, registered that URL and made a site with a bunch of news about Trump and Giuliani being traitors to America. And that new site would pop up every single time somebody viewed the tweet from Giuliani. It's a fun moment.
Spoiler alert, this wouldn't be anywhere close to the dumbest way Rudy would pwn himself in 2018.
Not even
Yes. Yeah.
In his defense, though, he was using abbreviated space.
Yeah. No.
Oh, and by the way, the fact that Rudy accidentally did this and Twitter wouldn't like undo the fact that that was a link was one of the main reasons, like the main lines of evidence in the Twitter is anti-Republican fervor that directly led to Elon Musk buying the site and fucking it to death.
I actually love that. He tricked Elon Musk into losing so much fucking money.
Yeah, plus side.
Good job. And it turns out that Giuliani was also a professional cybersecurity expert. No, the fuck he wasn't. Not at all. But he got paid to travel the world and give lectures about cybersecurity.
No.
And he became Donald Trump's cybersecurity advisor starting on January 12th of 2017. Literally less than 2 weeks after that happened, Giuliani had to consult an Apple Store Genius Bar because he got locked out of his iPhone after forgetting his password and trying the wrong password 10 times in a row, and he got locked out.
The genius guy just like, sir, your balls are stuck in your zipper. There's no way for me to I can't unzip it around your balls. Like I can't.
How'd you get the beans above the weenies?
Yeah, let me say this, okay? The Apple Genius Bar is literally the reason I pay $2,000 extra for a demonstrably worse computer. But Rudolph Giuliani is the Genius Bar final boss,
yes.
right? Just gauge earrings and ironic mustache finger tattoos flying everywhere.
Yeah. But just to be clear, me and Noah pay for that computer. So a couple other
You did this year. It was
highlights
very nice.
from-
Thank you.
A couple other highlights from his career in, quote, cybersecurity. For most of 2019, Giuliani spent his time being the literal worst spy in the history of spies. His mission was to derail the Joe Biden campaign. But instead, he became Russia's greatest intelligence asset by accident and also got Trump the first of his 2 impeachments. This includes a trip to Ukraine, during which Giuliani conducted back-channel talks with Ukrainian officials and American diplomats using his non-secure personal cell phone while connected to data networks that we know for certain were controlled by the Russian government. But, he was using WhatsApp. He mentioned how it's WhatsApp, so it's encrypted and he's, incognito mode or whatever. So it's fine. It's totally fine.
And my email to Zelensky is almost complete. No, wait, hold on. Personal and confidential. Whoa! Woo-hoo. Close one, me.
Oh, shit. I better run and copy and paste that Facebook status before midnight or Zuckerberg will own all my pictures.
During that same period, with that very same phone, Giuliani was also butt dialing journalists and leaving very long accidental voicemails of the conversation he was having in person. And of course, those conversations often involved insane snippets about the dumbest spy mission of all time, and also about how Giuliani kept spending all his allowance money for that mission, and he kept being out of money. He's also out of money now. It's pretty great. Meanwhile, those journalists, they're just listening to these messages, fucking weeping with laughter. And also, I have to assume, wondering why the fuck Giuliani has an old-timey phone with physical buttons in 2019.
Indeed. Well, we haven't even gotten to the illegal stuff Rudy Giuliani did to embarrass himself yet. So while we stretch our credulities, we'll take a quick break for apropos of nothing. Tyler, get in here, big guy.
Yes, Mr. President.
So, you know how you've been having those night terrors where you wake up screaming, oh my God, we're going to jail, we're all going to jail?
Every night since the election, sir, yeah, uh-huh.
Well, you rest your tall head, big guy, because I just hired us America's #1 lawyer, Ruby Booby Honey.
It's Giuliani.
Gooby Bunny.
Giuliani.
Jews like money.
Close enough.
Oh, you're a guy. I'm sorry. I thought he just drank too much Diet Coke and threw up again. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I get that a lot.
So either way, I'm really glad you're here, Mr. Giuliani. We could really use your help.
Don't worry, kid. With my Zach Morris cell phone and ability to book the first place I find on Google Maps, I could never lead us astray.
Okay, I guess.
Oh, Sarah, perfect, you're here. This is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, my press secretary.
Holy shit, is that Ilgor the acid slide? Dude, I've seen this guy melt more bodies than anyone else in Faerun, like ever.
No, Sarah, this is Rudy Boo Boo Funny. He's our new lawyer.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Hey, Boo Boo.
It's okay. I get that a lot.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
And we're back. When we left off, the cast of MTV's Jackass was warning Rudy to act with a little more self-respect. Tell us, Heath, what happened next?
All right. Well, that brings us to the Hunter Biden laptop story in the New York Post, the reliable publication. And their source for that story was Rudolph Giuliani. Here's the narrative that Rudy would like us to believe. In 2019, Hunter Biden spilled some water on his laptop, which was alarming to Hunter because the laptop was full of incriminating information about his father lying and secret international business dealings, and of course, videos of him smoking crack. You know how you do selfies of crack smoking?
Mm-hmm.
Get a lot of those on there.
Yeah.
He keeps all that stuff on his computer for posterity, totally normal. So Hunter hopped on an airplane from California, where he lives, to find the world's greatest data recovery expert. And that would be at a strip mall in Wilmington, Delaware. That expert is John Isaac, a huge Trump supporter by chance. Hunter Biden handed Mr. Isaac the laptop and then never once returned to that place ever again. Isaac had no way of knowing it was Hunter because Isaac is legally blind, but he's pretty sure he could smell the Biden musk on Hunter Biden. Also, there's no security footage because the legally blind technology expert didn't have that technology yet for his thing back in 2019. It wasn't a big deal to have like security cameras then.
I mean, to be fair, how often does a blind guy need security footage? I mean, was he going to
Look at it?
Conservatives are just mad that Biden got a laptop wetter than Ben Shapiro's wife. So,
Oh,
They're all wetter than Ben Shapiro's wife, man.
And continuing in the narrative from Giuliani via the New York Post. So the aroma of Hunter Biden left, and Mr. Isaac worked on the laptop and recovered some data. And against all odds, he found a shocking trove of very specific smoking gun intel on a major presidential candidate. So he figured it was his civic duty to contact the authorities. Eventually, the FBI took the laptop and the recovered data, but Isaac also made an extra copy of all that stuff, just in case Rudy Giuliani might need it one day. Well, that one day happened. It was exactly 3 weeks before Election Day. By
What a weird
coincidence.
coincidence.
Yep. So Giuliani took the copy of the hard drive. He went to the best goddamn journalism team that he could think of, the New York Post, and the best writer at the Post, who refused to put a name in the byline, typed up the article into the publication. And here's the explanation from Rudy Giuliani about choosing the New York Post. Quote, either nobody else would take it, or if they took it, they'd spend a bunch of time trying to contradict it before they put it out. You know, like a fucking newspaper.
Yeah, right.
feels like a line lifted from his cousin divorce paperwork.
So, speaking of Rudy Giuliani press conferences, I think we need to talk about another moment. Let's not forget about the time he, I think, blew a head gasket and started leaking oil from his face.
Gary Oldman prophetically crushed that role in Fifth Element. Absolutely.
Sorry, Heath, you're saying this like it happened once. I need you to be very specific.
Yeah, which for the rest of his time, that gasket never got fixed. Yeah. And of course, 2020 is the beginning of Giuliani's treason career. Domestic treason career. He was already an accidental Russian spy for several years by that point. But following the 2020 election, he officially becomes a domestic terrorist, like all the way. And that includes poison gas. Farting actually got him banned from Donald Trump's debate prep.
This is the greatest thing.
According to author Michael Wolff, quote, Giuliani came to debate prep once, but no one wanted him back. His phone rang constantly, and he couldn't shut it off. He couldn't shut off his phone. He shuffled endless pieces of
By
paper.
the genius bar.
Yeah, he took the genius bar to
How
figure
do I
out
silence this?
off. Yeah, silence. All right. He shuffled endless pieces of paper without being able to find what he was looking for. He couldn't work his iPad to bring up what he wanted to show. And he passed gas constantly. End exact quote. Trump's aides actually started telling Giuliani the wrong times for the meetings so that he wouldn't show up. But the fart of the goddamn century happened during a hearing in Michigan. Giuliani farts so fucking loudly during this hearing, so loudly and so clearly that his co-counsel sitting right next to him, Jenna Ellis, almost has to leave the courtroom to avoid laughing and getting like a contempt of court for laughing. It's the greatest.
Giuliani farts like the dream sequence in Terminator 2. And she's just sitting in there holding the fucking fence as her hair flies back and she turns into a skeleton.
Yeah. Not only should you absolutely look up this video, podcast listener, but just to give you a little inside information here, you have no idea how extreme that fart had to be picked up by a directional microphone.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Jenna Ellis should be reimbursed out of the 9/11 first responders fund.
It's like a non-Euclidean fart direction.
Yeah.
I bet, although honestly, the fart Adams are more embarrassed by that clip than Rudy is. They're like, oh my God, are we on video with that asshole? His asshole?
So ever since the 2020 election, Giuliani's existence has just been getting sadder and sadder. It appears he was splitting his time between two major projects since then. The first was conspiring to overthrow American democracy, and the second was selling dumb shit on Twitter as a giant embarrassing failure. The second thing, the giant embarrassing failure, was way more successful, just to be clear. And that includes doing ads for a cigar store and a company that sells retirement accounts in the form of physical gold coins.
What?
Never loses its value. Brilliant.
Right? Hedge against the fucking Bitcoin or whatever. And of course, tweeting a promo code for slip-on rubber sandals that you can buy at Mike Lindell's MyPillow.com.
What? They're $50.
Promo code Rudy.
Forget to die for. These shoes are to die in. You can have that one, Rudy. That one's for you, bud.
Okay, but these sandals are not $80 anymore. They're $50 because promo code
Jesus.
Rudy. So before the big lie started, the last time Giuliani argued a federal case was 1992. That was the last time he was in a federal court. And he got way fucking dumber during those 28 years. And he didn't start great. And then in December of 2020, he showed up in Philadelphia trying to tell a federal judge that Pennsylvania had to change its election laws retroactively and give Donald Trump all the electoral votes from Pennsylvania, which is fucking absurd. But the judge decided to let Giuliani talk for, I'm assuming, entertainment purposes. The judge was just like, yeah, I kind of want to hear this. Let's hear it. In legal terms, we have 3 levels of review when evaluating the constitutionality of a statute. Depending on the context, we use the rational basis test, the intermediate scrutiny test, or the strict scrutiny test. So the judge asked Giuliani which of those tests Giuliani wanted to apply. And Giuliani responded, quote, the normal one.
You say what you think I will say, and I'll tell you if you're right.
So, in fairness to Rudy, he actually did get a win in 2021. Actually, 2 wins, but it was a pair of Razzie Awards, so it's more like a loss. For his work in Borat's subsequent movie film, he got Worst Supporting Actor and also shared the award for Worst Screen Combo. That award went to Giuliani and the zipper on his pants. That was in honor of Giuliani getting tricked into doing an interview in a hotel room with a teenage girl. Now, okay, to be clear, the girl was a character being played by an adult. But regardless, Giuliani, an attorney for the president of the goddamn United States at the time, showed up at a hotel room with his security team. They didn't notice Sacha Baron Cohen hiding in the adjacent room doing his prank, and they went ahead with the interview. Giuliani eventually followed this woman into the bedroom, and at one point, he laid back on the bed and put his hand inside his pants. That all definitely happened on video. Now, in fairness, Giuliani was probably just retucking his shirt. That was his excuse. And also, to be fair, Borat agreed, later tweeting a video in which he said, in character as Borat, quote, "I here to defend America's mayor. What was an innocent, sexy time encounter between a consenting man and my 15-year-old daughter has been turned into something disgusting by fake news media." End quote. But still, okay, at best, Giuliani is tragically stupid for that whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. And to be clear, Cohen wasn't sure his actress was safe at the time. So what he did is he burst into the room and in character offered Rudy his ass instead.
I'm not sure exactly when the right time would be to point out that we now live in a world so defined by an insane dedication to bullshit as a cultural norm that literally none of this was a meaningful scandal when it happened. But
Yeah.
like, is it now? I kind of want it to be now.
Well,
It's before.
we got 4 indictments on the books now in the last 4 months. We'll see. So there's so much more tragedy in Giuliani's life, but the format of the show and the laws of fucking physics will not allow every single sad detail. But I'll do a quick lightning round of Rudy's other failures as best I can here before we close it out. On election night of 2020, he started panicking when Donald Trump wasn't getting declared the winner. So he told Trump to just go on TV and self-declare the victory. And even Donald Trump refused to do that.
Yeah. No, the guy who publicly suggested curing COVID by drinking bleach said, like, that idea's dumb, Rudy. That's just
That guy
dumb.
was the voice of reason relative to Rudy Giuliani. That's correct. That same night, an extremely drunk Giuliani had to be wrangled by aides in the White House like a clumsy toddler to stop him from stumbling around and smashing all the china in the White House china room.
Right. A room that presumably also contained Donald Trump. What I'm saying is it was a tough day for the White House China room.
Well, no, Trump did promise to be tough on China.
There you go. See?
Sorry, the China room. Yeah.
Yeah,
After
China,
a bunch
yeah.
of extremely stupid lying about the election, New York State and Washington, D.C. both took away Giuliani's license to practice law. He is now less employed than a podcaster, which is super fun.
Oh, that joke hits so fucking hard right now. Like, fucking A.
Hey, Cecil, as your new boss, I want you to know your job is safe with me. Okay, buddy?
That joke hits so fucking hard right now. You wouldn't believe it.
Continuing the lightning round, Giuliani once claimed to be, quote, more Jewish than George Soros, who is a Jewish person who survived the goddamn Holocaust.
More
That's
Jewish.
right.
Was he raised by a pair of lesbian Jewish mothers? You have to tell us, Steve.
He was not. He's fucking Irish.
He's probably
fucking
more. He's
Italian
probably
Catholic.
more
He's
Jewish
Roman-
than George Santos.
More Jewish than Santa Claus.
They're both Jewish, technically,
Jewish.
right? Moving on in the lightning round. At a ShopRite grocery store in Staten Island, New York, somebody saw Giuliani in person and called him a scumbag because, of course, he is. Giuliani proceeded to call the cops and press charges on the guy for assault. Rudy claimed the guy hit him in the back, which felt like a, quote, gunshot, and claimed he almost broke his skull when he tumbled forward from that slap. But there's a video of all this happening and literally none of that. The gunshot was actually a very soft pat on the shoulder, and the guy was like, "You're a scumbag," and walked past.
Yeah, like that's like reaching full as far out as he can. And again, actual bags of scum have a stronger claim here, right? Like a hate crime against
Now,
them.
to be fair, I have it on good authority that Rudy's bones are the color and brittleness of a Biscoff cookie. So maybe he has a point.
All right. And we're going to close out the lightning round with Giuliani trying to get a preemptive pardon from Donald Trump in January of 2021 for all the crimes that he might eventually get indicted for. And that pardon did not happen. And now he's indicted for a bunch of those crimes because Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fonnie Willis is the fucking greatest. And that brings us to a moment so fucking beautiful. I had to save it for the end, even
I'm
though it
standing
happened
up with my hand
in
over my heart
2020.
right now.
How
Keith.
excited are you, Cecil?
Standing
How
up.
excited.
Oh,
It is
Captain,
the
my
single
Captain.
greatest moment of comedy in the history of space-time.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
absolutely.
even written. It's not, comedians had nothing to do with this. It just happened in reality. Of course, I'm talking about the press conference led by Rudy Giuliani at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. Now, the Big Lie Kraken Squad was quite certain that was the posh hotel in downtown Philly. But instead, somebody said, Siri, call Four Seasons. And the iPhone software did the best thing it's ever done in its goddamn life. And it called Four Seasons Total Landscaping, located in the industrial outskirts of Philadelphia, next to the crematorium and the adult bookstore. The phone rang at Four Seasons Total Landscaping. And that's when a true American hero stopped fixing a lawnmower or whatever and answered. And some GOP lackey said, hi, I work for Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. Can we book a press conference at your venue? And that American hero said, you sure fucking can. Absolutely. I got you covered. And history was made.
Thanks to Heath, I've had a lot of time to reflect on this glorious moment in our nation's history. And you know what still bothers me? Why did they still set up the backdrop?
Because they didn't want to look stupid.
Sure.
Also, Eli, backdrop is doing a lot of work in that set.
This is
Like,
such a great picture.
if you write Trump Pence on a science fair poster board with a glitter pen, you'd be kicking things up a notch.
It's so sad. He's like begging all of them, like, please shoot me close. Just shoot me close. Do not, no wide shots. No wide
Not a
shots.
single-
Please.
Let me see. I want to see everybody's hand zoom to in. Let me see it. Hands up, zooming to in.
85 millimeter only.
Tight. Just my face. It's leaking. It's fucked. I don't know whether we should zoom in or out now.
Everyone, please turn in your wide angle lens like you're at a Dave Chappelle comedy show. We're going to zip them in these bags.
Oh, so good. So Giuliani and his handlers showed up at Four Seasons Total Landscaping, and the landscaping people were like, oh, sorry, you didn't pay the extra charge for the front parking lot. You got to go around back. So they went around back. And then we got to watch Rudolph Giuliani standing next to window signs for erotic fiction, giving a speech about his ridiculous big lie, and then finding out mid-sentence during that press conference that the election had been called for Joe Biden. Somebody pointed that out to him, and he responded, the call for the election isn't fucking... Wait, who is it called by? All the networks? Did you say all the networks? And then he panicked at this moment, and he tried to argue against the reality of that, but all he could come up with was saying all the networks over and over with like different tones and all the networks, all the networks, all the
Amazing.
networks. I'm stalling. Somebody come up with something.
So good.
And then when all the reporters started slowly packing away and leaving, they had to wind down the press conference. It was the fucking greatest moment in my life, I think.
Certainly. Yeah, in any life. Then Rudy takes a big, long look at that crematorium.
How hot do you think those ovens get?
So sad. So I put the picture of like him at the podium doing the thing, and it's very sad. But I watched the video again just to remind myself. I do that like every couple days. And the very end, when it's like, no, it's just people like cleaning up. It looks like there was a press conference about the apocalypse that had just happened. And then like, sadly, a bunch of aides are like putting shit in boxes. It's so great. It made me so happy. Okay. Here is the latest news about Giuliani from last week before we close it out. Apparently, he wasted millions of dollars of his own money defending Donald Trump during that whole stretch, and he's been begging Trump to pay him back. But we all know that's not going to happen. So now Giuliani is completely out of money. He cannot practice law, and he's definitely going to die sad, poor, and alone, hopefully in federal prison. But I don't really care. Anywhere he dies sad, poor, and alone, I'm happy. Yeah.
Right? No, it's
And
great.
if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, I mean, I feel like it's that last thing, but what would it be?
Well,
What
yeah,
would
no,
it be?
it's if you ever need, like, if you're having any kind of like mental health thing, watch this video of this press conference.
It's true. Yeah.
Also take medicine and go to doctors, but like do this too. It's pretty great.
It's actually,
Unless you're Rudy Giuliani. So
it's the new edition of Feeling Good. And are you ready for the quiz?
I am ready.
All right, Heath. What is Rudy Giuliani's favorite meal to order when prepping himself for a debate? A, the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity.
And that's it.
That's good.
what he's IHOP. Yep. A, definitely nailed it.
All right, Heath. What will the eventual Rudy Giuliani movie be called? A. Die Another Gray. B. Unclaimed Fart. C. I like that one. I don't know why. I don't know why. C. A Man for All Seasons. Total Landscaping.
Fantastic.
Or D. My Cousin Rudy.
Oh. He tries so hard, just like Rudy, and he fails. But I forget, does Rudy, like Sean Astin Rudy, win in the end? Does he win in that movie?
No.
No, he loses. Awesome. I'm going to say D. My Cousin Rudy.
Correct. Absolutely.
Nice.
All right, I have a tough one here for you, Heath. Nothing will ever be funnier than the Four Seasons Total Landscaping thing unless and until A, we find out Rudy also booked his lodging there and had to spend the night under the counter. B, he tries to book a press conference in Paris and winds up standing in a box of crackers. C, we get trapped in a Doctor Strange time loop and we get to relive that moment every day forever like Groundhog Day. Or D, reject the premise. That was the peak of humor, both practically and theoretically.
It's somehow, this doesn't even make sense. It's E, all of the above.
It is. It actually is. Damn it, I thought I'd have you.
Eli, did I win?
All right, Heath got to talk about Rudy Giuliani again, so he wins.
I definitely won.
He wins.
All right, let's get some Noah next week.
Wow, I don't know if I read a whole Bill Bryson book in time, but I'll see.
Well, for Tom, Noah, Cecil, and Heath, I'm Eli Bosnick. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Noah will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, could you just PayPal Cecil like $20?
Okay.
Oh my
He really needs it, and he can't wait. They pay us monthly, and he can't wait. It's an emergency.
Jesus Christ.
And if you'd like to help keep the show going, you can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or
actually much
leave us
poorer
a
than
5-star
Cecil, just to be
review
clear.
anywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com.
And so I say to him, Ganger, you might have the guts to kill a village of Raganai, but I don't think you have the stones to eat them. I don't think you do.
And I created the most significant contribution to the death of unarmed black men since Jim Crow.
Yikes. You're one evil piece of shit. You know that, Ruby?
It's Rudy.
Doobie?
Close enough.